How's it going, guys? Welcome to Audio Addiction. It's been a while since I've done an interview. I took a bit of a break, so some of the old stuff was released, but Andrew is the first one post hiatus. So, congrats, Andrew, for taking me out of retirement, quote unquote. But obviously, I said your name. You can say what you're due, and anything else you want to say, real quick.
Sure. Thanks, Brandon. Thanks for having me. So my name's Andrew Thomases, and I have my own um, solo music gig. I write and record and produce my own stuff, and I have about 5 songs out now.
Very
They're
cool.
they all have music videos, and they're all up on my website, which is just andrewthomases.com, and that's Thomases.
Awesome, Andrew. Well, thank you for coming on. I want to give a shout outs to Erica, as we mentioned earlier, post interview or pre interview. So Erica, thank you. Muddy Paw's always been a big supporter of audio addiction here, so I always gotta show her some love. But the first question, Andrew, excuse me, I'm going through a cold, so I imagine my cough will make its appearance throughout this entire interview. But I'm sure you get asked this quite a bit, but how did you start out making music? Doing your whole solo endeavor. Had you been in bands before? Kind of give me the anthology story about Andrew and doing his solo stuff.
Sure. As you can probably see, I have a little bit of gray hair here, so I'm um, I'm in my 50s, and but that means I went to high school and college in the 80s, and I was always in cover bands, starting in high school, college, and then I went to law school, and I was in cover bands in law school and did some original stuff. Usually, my guitars had some original stuff, but mostly all cover tunes. Played
Hmm.
on campuses, bars, parties, that kind of stuff. I started as a bass guitarist.
Very cool.
Um, never, never really was trained on keys or guitar, and I never sang. Um,
Oh wow!
I
All
was I
right.
was always the quiet bass guitarist back there with the drummer keeping rhythm. Um, and then I became a lawyer in the mid '90s, and super busy job and career, and so really didn't touch my bass guitar for years. I got married, and we have 3 kids, so
Very nice.
that 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 also kind of takes free time away from doing music. But music's always been my passion. I listen to music all the time. I grew up, doing music trivia. I was a DJ in college as well.
Oh, very cool.
Um, and then when the pandemic hit, I found myself with some free time, right? Working from
Yeah,
home,
I was
no
gonna say.
commute, and kids' sports all like disappeared, right? So our weekends were actually free for the first time ever. And so I actually went out and bought a guitar and started watching YouTube videos and teaching myself how to play, and dusted off my bass guitar and started messing around and recording just some licks and some ideas I had, and just did it here in my home studio, which is actually my home office, and uh, had some stuff together and actually recorded a track that had instrumentals on it, but I didn't even write words, didn't have anything. And then, unfortunately, in the middle of 2020, my father, who had suffered from a stroke, had passed away, and
Oh,
I
sorry to
actually
hear it.
couldn't, yeah, I couldn't go. I'm in California. I couldn't go back east to be with him when he was in his final weeks, and we couldn't have a funeral. And so, almost in like 24 hours, these lyrics came to my very first song, which has not actually been formally released, but and it was about how we can't. I lost my father and couldn't go visit him when he was sick, and then we
Yeah.
couldn't
Oh,
gather and mourn him. So it really encapsulated the pandemic, and it was the first time I ever sang and used my
oh
own
wow.
vocals. I sent it to some close friends and family, and they're like, "Wow, this is actually pretty good." Like I had no idea how it would be received,
Yeah.
and obviously it was very cathartic to kind of get my grieving out that way.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, and so I was encouraged by friends and family to do a little bit more, and I had some licks in my head, and I had recorded some on my computer. Um, and so I watched a lot more videos on using Logic Pro and
Nice.
got that up and running in the house. Got a nice microphone, um, and some of these licks that I had written down or recorded snippets of, I
Hmm.
extended into songs, um, and then decided that I wanted to write some songs that have meaning and
Sure.
have
Yeah.
um, kind of convey some of the wisdom that I've gathered in my 54 years. So I kind of call it conscious rock, but they all have some meaning. So some of them have, my first release was a little bit of, commiserating. It was in the height of the pandemic, so commiserating about the politics at the time, and it was called "Cure Me of This." It was "Cure Me," and then the refrain is, "Can someone please cure me of this insanity?" Which is not just the pandemic, but the divisive nature of our country.
Yeah.
We had a crazy election going on, um, and then my next release was about trying to become more aware about climate change, and it was called "Will You Miss Me When I'm Gone,"
Yeah.
which was sung in the voice of the environment. And we all have this great thing,
Yeah.
that's lush forests and beautiful oceans. Are we going to miss it when it's gone? We got to make sure we take care of it. And so kind of went on from there. So all my songs have a little bit of meaning. Some of them have a little um, spunk to them, some more fun. There's one song I actually called "Suburban Void." I wrote actually in the '90s. I wrote the original chord progression and lyrics, but never sang it, never recorded it. But it's about looking back on your teenage years growing up in the suburbs, and kind of how we had a misspent, wasted youth with silly antics and stuff. And so it's kind of more fun. It's a little bit of a chill rock song, so not as heavy on the power chords or anything,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it does have a little bit of message into these teenagers, like, hey, take advantage of the opportunities you have, and don't waste them drinking and
Yeah.
partying and trying nonstop just to hook up. Try to take advantage of where you're at, and the
Sure.
time you have there as your teenage years. So there's a little bit of wisdom there, but it's definitely more fun, and has a fun lyric video that goes along with it. So that's where I am now in 2022. I have 5 songs released. I have 3 or 4 that are ready to go. One's releasing on April 8th.
Very
One
cool.
just released February 25th, and I have a few more that are going to be released in May and probably June.
It's the long and short of it. So
Yeah, sorry if
I
I rambled too long.
no, this is great. I love it. And it's funny enough, you were the polar opposite of me. I learned how to play guitar early on, and then over the pandemic, I picked up a bass, which I have like right here next to me. So,
Awesome.
so for me, it was more or less the complete opposite, which is like I've been playing guitar for well over a decade now, and I was like, man, I really want to like learn how to play bass. And I was just like, so then I bought a bass, and you know have been slowly kind of cracking away and learning how to play bass. So I feel like I'm on your path, but
The opposite.
opposite. So that is very cool. Funnily enough, I also had Eric, who is also on Muddy Paw, and he also is in the same age range as you. And I asked him a similar question, so I'm going to ask you this: what do your kids think about your music? Because I feel like as a late 20-year-old, I feel like if my parents were to release music, not that I'd have bad thoughts about it. I'm just curious if your kids do have any thoughts about it.
Yeah, so I have 3 kids. A daughter is a junior in college, is almost 21, 18-year-old son, and then a middle schooler, so 13. And I get a lot of eye rolls. I definitely get a lot of eye rolls. Um, they think of anything like before 2000 to be like old classic rock kind of
Well,
music,
I'm
and
gonna be old then, probably.
and so they think of my music heads as kind of like classic rock sound, whereas I I just because I lived through it, I know classic rock to me is certain things, and then things like The Cure and the '80s kind of alternative music
Yeah,
is very different to me. But for them, it's just all kind of this
it's all
older
mushed
sounding
together.
music.
Yeah.
Um, they don't know anything really about guitar solos or an instrumental bridge or anything, because their attention spans are so short, right? They want to straight to the chorus, straight to the next verse, next chorus, and then a really kind of short, concise song. Um, so I get a little bit of eye rolls uh, at times, and maybe sometimes they'll sit through a whole song if I make them listen to it.
There you go. Well, good, best of luck, because I feel like that's a difficult audience to hold down. So if you can somehow make that work, then I feel like you're in the very small minority of you know of people that like that stuff, which I do find a little bit surprising, because I feel like I don't know if they've showed you this band, Greta Van Fleet, but they're
Yes.
very like classic rock esque, right? So I just find it funny that you're like, oh man, all these people like late, early 2000s and before that are like old music, but then you have Greta Van Fleet that are all like in that same age range, and they're like, man, this is great. I've never heard this before, and I'm like, oh god,
but
it hurts my head a little
but
bit.
if it sounds a lot like Greta Van Fleet sounds a lot like Queen. So there's definitely a bridge in the
Somewhere, yeah.
musical. Yeah. But it was really funny. Before the pandemic, my sister and I were out at a club, and it had an 80s theme, but it was near NYU in New York, and so a lot of young college students or 20 somethings were there, and the song Africa from Toto came on, and they knew all the words. So some of these older songs are getting revivals back with the 20 something group.
I will say, I think that has a little bit to do with Weezer made a cover of it. So
Right.
I want to say that, you know, if that
But
cover didn't
even
exist,
Weezer, to my kids, Weezer's like oldish kind of, right?
yeah, I don't. There must be something missing there. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting into the older bracket here, and
It comes
this
faster
is
than you think.
yeah. Yeah. I just turned 29 at the beginning of this month, so I feel like I'm getting there. I don't want to feel like I'm getting old, but age is something that doesn't stop. So
You're
you know
getting wise.
and
You're
getting
getting wise.
wiser. That's what I'm hoping that I bring to this music channel, is that I'm getting a little bit wiser with each year. But um, I digress, Andrew. The next question, I'm sure you're gonna have a lot of fun answering. Who were you influenced by? Who were kind of like the first people that got you into playing, guitar and really, and bass and all that sort of stuff? And then who kind of influences your music now? I imagine not too much of a difference, but I've been shocked before.
Yeah. No. So in terms of people close to me, my father always had rock and roll going on.
Very cool.
Sometimes some blues, but like it was kind of thing where in our house there's music going, or in the car there was music going. Some families you go home and turn on the TV, but my dad went home and turned on the radio or put
Yeah.
on an album, true vinyl at the time. Um, and he also he actually picked up the bass guitar and would play along with his records or with music really when I was really young.
Mm-hmm.
And then he upgraded to and he bought a new bass guitar, and he had this old one. And I think I was 9 and really getting into the Beatles. And he took me to see Beatlemania on Broadway, which was
Oh, very
this kind
cool.
of
Yeah.
spoof on the Beatles, but it was a cover stuff. And that night I said, Dad, can I have your old bass guitar? And so at age 9, I asked for his bass, and never took any lessons. I was like plunk around with it. I didn't even have an amp, so I actually took the cord, got some RCA jacks, and plugged into my like dinky little stereo, and probably blew up the
Wow.
speakers.
I was gonna say, yeah.
and and um, started messing around, but really didn't learn enough. Was not disciplined enough to
Continue.
practice my
Yeah.
skills and practice scales. But then again, I think it was age 9 or 10. On the East Coast, everyone goes to summer camps, sleepaway
Yeah.
summer camp. And I went to one that was a performing arts camp, but I went for not for music. I was like into magic and other stuff, and but I brought my bass guitar, and one of my good friends was there, and he's in in my bunk and tried out for a rock band to sing, and he got lead singer role, but there was a total shortage of bass guitar players.
Well, yeah.
So he comes back. He says, "Our band needs a bass guitar." So I don't know how to play. So I go with him, and the counselor. It's as simple as you hold your finger here and pluck
I
this
just
one
yeah,
four
yeah.
times, and hold your finger here, pluck this one four times. But that was then we played in front of the campers later that a few weeks later, and that was my first live concert, and I was hooked. And I um, so I played, I think 6 or 7 summers there, and then in high school had a pretty big high school band. Um, we would play at other high schools and stuff, and then
Oh, cool.
college I had a couple of bands where we would play at all the colleges in the area, and then college parties and stuff. And I just love performing. It's just great to see people reacting to your music. But my musical tastes, I mean, I classic rock, but also, at that time it was college rock or alternative rock. Um, we even in some of my bands did some rap tunes in the '90s. We
Nice.
did grunge when grunge came. It was
Yeah.
brand new. Smells Like Teen Spirit and some Pearl Jam and other stuff. So the full gamut.
Yeah, you really and I was like I said, I listened to Cure Me and I was like listening through and I was like, yeah, he's if he doesn't say classic rock, I'll be very surprised. Just only off the sheer musical prowess, and I was like trying to think of some artists because I feel like classic rock, I have like a certain window of like artists where like I know stuff, and then there's like a gap where I don't know much, and then we get into like the early 2000s, and then that's when everything kind of picks up because my age range. But my parents are in their 60s, so I used to listen to a lot of classic rock, like Led Zeppelin, Rolling Stones, Beatles, all that sort of stuff. So like, and my uncle, he would play like Motown, like all that sort of stuff. So I like, in terms of growing up, that's what I was familiar with listening to. So in terms of listening to your music, it was very nostalgic for me because that's to me like grew up like summers when I go visit my uncle, like in his house in Jersey, and like just go to the pool and he'd just be blasting like some like the Temptations or whatever, right? Yeah. So for me, like when I was listening to some of your stuff, and I'll have to listen to more now just based off of the influences, I'm like, oh man, this is like stuff I grew up listening to. So it's
Yeah.
very, very much in that lane,
And Cure
which
Me
I like.
especially, I wrote that as an homage to the Cure. So
Yeah,
I
I
try to
was
make
gonna
it
say that.
sound like the Cure, but also there are lyrical references to their Cure songs. So
Oh wow, okay.
one of the refrain has "Fascinate Me," and they have a song "Fascination Street." Uh, "Close to Me," there's a line that has "Close to Me." "Disintegration" is a song, and there's "Disintegrate Me."
Mm-hmm.
So there's a number of references that if you're a Cure fan, you'd actually pick up on. And plus, I tried to emulate the sound too, so it was a bit of an homage.
Yeah, definitely had that like Cure. I was trying to think of other artists like off the top of my head. I was thinking of like a little REM,
Hmm.
like I was trying to think in terms of guitar work, a little bit of Elvis Costello kind of stuff, So
All stuff I listened to when I
I was
was
gonna say
in
I feel
college.
like my classic rock knowledge is I would say I've got a good sensor for that sort of stuff, just having that drilled into my head as a kid. So, but yeah, I feel like if my parents watch this, which I'm sure they will at some point, go check out Andrew's stuff. But anyway, Andrew, the next question is keeping it more current. What are you listening to lately? I'm sure you have some time to listen to music. So what have you been listening to recently?
So, well, I do like Greta Van Fleet. Uh, I've actually listened to a fair bit of the Muddy Paw artists that they have there.
There
So
you go.
I do really like LJR, Luke Justin Roberts. And there's another woman, Ann Bennett, who has an incredible voice. She's a Muddy Paw solo artist. And Ann and I actually just did a collaboration together
Very
where a
cool.
song I wrote and I recorded all the music and sang the vocals. She doubled me on the vocals and then added a bunch of great stuff, and that's in its final mix right now. So we're hoping that'll be released soon. Um, there's a band out of Columbus that I just found on Instagram called Hello Luna, and
Hmm.
they have some
Okay.
good stuff. And it does have, I mean, it's modern, but it does have a real rock, a lot of guitars and bass and drums. Um, uh, I like some heavier stuff like the Pretty Reckless.
Nice. Yeah.
Uh, she's got a great voice, and they always have some featured guitars there. You know, great
Yeah.
solo, and so that's fun. So I actually, on my Spotify, just put it on kind of random. Just have the algorithm go and pick random stuff, and I start liking the ones I like, and it starts finding more stuff for me. And it kind of goes back to in college when I was a DJ. I purposely called I had a weekly show and I called it Haphazard Radio. I would play anything, like if people requested anything, if it sounded good to me, I played, crossing all these genres and all
That's
this
great.
crazy stuff. And so my musical taste, I want to be
Same.
expansive and
Yeah.
stuff. And like you mentioned Eric Harrison, I listen to his stuff too. He and I are actually the exact same age. We figured out we graduated high school the same year, and he has a song called 1986 with his music video
Yeah.
too,
Yeah.
which totally encapsulated that's the year we graduated. So that totally encapsulated my high school. I was like, wow, you caught that.
Oh man, he
Um,
was great too, because
yeah, he's got a wicked sense of humor.
he's a East Coaster, much like myself. So you know,
So I grew up in the New York suburbs. I lost my accent, but since I've been out here 27 years, but yeah, I'm originally an East Coaster too.
I grew up in Jersey, and then most recently I moved to Pennsylvania. So
Yeah, where
still,
where in New Jersey?
I grew up in this little town called Wrightstown. Not too many people know where it is, but if you are a part of the military, you would know exactly where it's at because it's literally right next to one of the biggest military bases in like on the East Coast.
Mhm.
Um, so oh my god, I can't tell you how many planes I've seen in my life. So
Mhm.
move. Stayed there, and then I moved to Burlington, and then I moved to Bordentown, which is the last place in Jersey I stayed.
Yeah,
And then now I'm out in Pennsylvania. So very
gotcha.
cool. Love, again, nothing but love for East Coast, but yeah, I don't know if my parents moved to South Carolina, so I feel like they're getting the nice sun,
The warmer
sun and
weather.
warmth, so I can't. I like the cold a little bit. So not. I mean, I feel like as I get older, that's probably gonna differentiate. But for right now, it's tolerable.
Yeah, I had a good high school friend who went to college at UC Berkeley, and I came out for spring break and just hung out with him for the week. And I was like, wow, I gotta come out here more often. Then I got an internship out here for a full summer, and that was it. I was like, I'm moving to the Bay Area. The weather's great. The population's very diverse. If you want, there's great skiing just 3 hour drive away.
Yeah,
You also have the shore and the beautiful city, so it's great out here.
I've visited the Bay. Oh my god, like over 6 years ago now, but it's great. I would go back if I hope to go back again, but I feel like if I go out there, I'll probably stay out there, and I don't know if I'm ready for that yet. But next question, Andrew, a fun one. If there was a song that you could cover, what would you choose?
So that I actually uh, thought of this just recently.
Gonna jog the memory then.
No, 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 no. It truly came to mind, and unfortunately, it's because of the war in Ukraine. But and it's also because I did the collab with Ann Bennett. There's a Susie and the Banshees songs called "Cities and Dust." I don't know
Wow. Okay.
if you know it, and it was written in the height of the Cold War, um, uh, which has some great music and a great vocal performance by Susie Sue, the lead singer. She's got this great range, and I was thinking, hey, I should talk to Ann Bennett and see if I do the music of that, will she
Was she
sing that
saying
with me?
yeah?
It'd be very timely too. because it's essentially an
Anti-war.
anti-war
Yeah.
song. Look at what we're going to do to our cities. They're all going to be in dust here. So
Yeah. That would be a very interesting one. Hopefully, hopefully a better timing, but
yeah,
that
yeah.
would be a very interesting one. I'd like to hear your take on that. But um, the next question, Andrew, I like to ask this because who doesn't like a little bit of self promo? But um, if there was one song, like if you had a new listener, somebody was checking you out and watching this interview and saying like, I really like Andrew, I want to check his music out. What would be your recommendation for the first song that they should listen to in your catalog?
So the the song I mentioned called Suburban Void, which I wrote in the 90s but just recorded last year, is like a chill rock song. So it's got a little bit of a Lou Reed-esque vocal, but the lyrics are entertaining, and for me they bring me back to my teenage years doing things like the first line is Jennifer dresses for a sweet 16, high school boys trying to look suave but mean. Danny's got a booze bar in his trunk, driving to the party just to get them all drunk. So it really it really brings back my formative years in the suburbs. And it's got some catchy guitars. It's not like heavy rock or really fast. It's like more of a chill rock sound, and it's got a fun lyric video that goes along with it, and it's animated, so it tells the story as well. So it's entertaining. So you can find the video on my website andrewthomases.com or on my YouTube channel, which is just Andrew Thomas's music.
There we go. Well, you already know I'll be leaving all of the links in the description, so go check out Andrew's stuff. But the next question, Andrew, as being a fellow East Coaster, I feel remiss if I didn't ask you this question, but what is your favorite food to eat?
Ooh, um, it's funny because it's probably not an East Coast thing, but
Ooh, okay.
I I really like some really good sushi,
Ooh, yeah.
or like a really good seared ahi, like
I got you. Yeah.
with either ginger or miso. So that's more of a almost like a Hawaiian kind of,
Or
or
West Coast. Yeah.
yeah, West Coast, Pan Asian.
Yeah.
Um, I had the occasion to go to Tokyo for work, and um, someone recommended this really local, like hole in the wall restaurant for sushi, and it was so good.
Oh, man.
Like
Oh.
you wouldn't have gone in there just looking at the outside, but since someone had recommended it, I
You
went in.
took
It
the
was so
chance.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're like, if I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die eating sushi, and that's
yeah,
that's a way to go. So I respect that. I would really love to go to Japan. That's on my bucket list. So I feel like you know, gotta eat sushi in the birthplace. So
yeah. And
um,
they have they've now upgraded it, but there's that fish market, and I did a tour of it early one morning. All the boats come in overnight, and then they have this big auction where they all auction their fish, and it's this whirlwind of activity and all this fish every day, fresh fish coming right off the boat, and then you can go to a restaurant right next door and
and just order
order.
it up. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, that was great. I did that when I went. My parents and my sister and I went to Korea. We went to a fish market, probably very similar, if not same
yeah,
thing. And it was,
fresh
man,
fish.
you see things that you're like, that came out of the ocean. That is very concerning to me. So that is so cool. But definitely Japan's on my bucket list, so I'll have to ask you where you got that sushi from, so I could go there.
Yeah, I'll have to remember.
But the next question, Andrew, keeping it back on the music topics, if you could pick somebody to collaborate with, who would you want to collaborate with? I know you already collaborated with Anne, but who would be a dream person you'd want to work with?
So, someone who has probably a female vocalist who has a higher range. I have almost a baritone singing voice, a very low
Mm,
voice, and so
yeah.
someone who can complement that, which is why I actually approached Anne, because she's got a little bit of goth rock going, but she has a really good vocal range, and can really cut through on the high end. Um, So I'm really happy with this collaboration, and I would be happy to do it again. So I think, and I'm very supportive of other independent artists. Uh, so I'm really happy to work together. There's another one who I follow on Instagram, Emily Gabrielle. She's got a really fun new song called "Talking to Strangers." And she's got some other great stuff on Spotify. I've never asked her for a collab, but she'd be another good independent artist that you could collab with. So
Well, Emily, if you somehow find this
yeah,
video, Andrew would like to collaborate with you. So, I've said it once and I'll probably say it a million more times on this channel, but I like, putting things out in the universe. You never know. Sometimes it finds its way back. So, always try to keep it
Brandon,
the
the
door open.
matchmaker.
Listen, I don't get paid any royalties to say any of this stuff, so I'm just gonna, just say it. I just want to be to say it. I just want to be the one that facilitated it. So
Exactly.
a little credit. A little liner note. I'm cool with that. That's all I need. I don't need to get paid on it. But the next question, Andrew, you do play guitar, you play bass, you sing. But if there is another musical instrument you could add to your arsenal, what would you like to learn?
Probably drums. Right now, all my drums are just done through software, on my
Yeah,
songs.
I feel that.
Um, uh, but I'm always the one who's sitting around like tapping on
Yep.
the table or
Or in
something
your
like that.
car, you're like,
But I've never actually picked up drumsticks and tried it. When I was in cover bands, every once in a while I'd sit behind the kit. The drummer would look at you like,
what are you doing?
don't
Yep.
mess with my stuff." but you go for it, and it's actually so much harder than just tapping on a table. So I would want to get appropriate lessons and probably start at the very basic, one,
The
two, three,
remedial,
four.
yeah, like the
Yeah.
rudiments. Yeah, I got you.
But yeah, that'd be fun. Now, I don't think my wife would ever let me have a drum kit in the house. There's not enough soundproofing to have that happen, but maybe one day.
I hope so. I hope for you too, because I feel like honestly, I had thought about this for a hot minute because I was like, well, I play bass now, or I'm learning it. I've been playing guitar for a while. I'm starting to kind of build up my vocal strength, and I was like, man, it would be really cool to learn drums, right? So maybe I'll wind up buying like an electric kit, because since they're not as
As
deafening
loud.
as acoustic drums. I know it's not the same thing, but
Yeah, put it out in the shed in your garden, in the backyard.
like a studio, yeah, studio shed, yeah, that's so hopefully your wife will hear my plea for you to get a shed or possibly an electric drum kit.
Yeah.
But next question, Andrew, if you were to compile a dream tour lineup including yourself, who would you like to have on your tour with you?
Wow. Wow. So I'm kind of torn between, like big name acts who I idolize, like, and I'd be like, "Ooh, I opened for so and so," or a bunch of indie acts where we could share. But
Why don't you give me
um,
both scenarios? I'll
yeah.
yeah.
All right. So it was probably about 5 years ago now. I saw The Cure, and they were still awesome. Uh, and what's really amazing is I think I knew every song. It was just great. So that'd be fun. Um, uh, and I'm still a huge U2 fan.
Oh yeah, that was the
Yeah.
other band I couldn't think of, but now,
Oh
yeah, now
yeah.
I
I
put that
played
together.
U2 from the very early '80s with "I Will Follow" and the early stuff they did. And we did a lot of cover songs of U2. So that'd be really fun. I remember I've seen them in concert a bunch of times, but I remember in the '80s seeing them, and there was a guy in the front row, and Bono just said, "Anyone out here play guitar?" And one guy, a lot of people raised their hand, but one guy close enough raised a hand, and they pull him up on stage, give him an acoustic, and they play "Knocking on Heaven's Door."
Oh my
And at
god.
some point, the rest of the Bono leaves, the Edge leaves, and it's just him and the drummer, And he's
Oh
like,
my
I'm on
god.
stage at the Meadowlands in
Oh
New
my
Jersey. Just
god. What? Oh, that's so cool.
so, I mean, they're supportive of, other artists.
That's great.
Um, uh, but yeah, so I think a lot of, upcoming artists that, you know, they run the gamut. There's some people who have Americana, like Eric Harrison, who's puts on a fun, amusing show. Uh, but some of the artists I mentioned earlier, if they were to go out on tour and put together a show, the biggest trick for me, and I loved performing when I was younger, but I would need to get a backing band because I can't play all the instruments. When you record in your studio, I do all the instruments, but I can
Yeah.
only play one at a time. Um, so I'd have to get a band, but to tour with some of those people, and I actually think, you know, you interviewed Silver Relics. I think they're going to make it big. I think LJR is going to be big. His stuff is great. Um, I, I I'm like so impressed that um, at that talent, I would like love to ride their coattails. Like, you guys are really good and you sing really well, and you have these other cover tunes. I don't know if you've gone to LJR's YouTube channel, but he has some really great covers that he
Yeah.
has on there. I was like, I'd love to do a cover with you too. Like we do it, together. Um, so you'd have like a independent artist tour going around, which would be
Yeah.
great.
Honestly, I'll just petition Angela and Erica to just do a Muddy Paw tour, and just have all of their artists kind of, have legs, throughout the because I mean I imagine they're all over the states, so
Yeah.
I feel
Well,
like
a lot
that'd
of them
be
are on the East
interesting.
Coast. I'm back east since I have family back there, and my work brings me back there. But yeah, it would be great to do some clubs or
I'm
tours.
I'm putting it out there, Angela, Erica. Just listen, free advice, free info. I'm gonna hold my hands up, and if you do it, you can like put my logo or my name at like the bottom
Idea
corner.
by.
Yeah, I'll listen. I'm not gonna take any credit for that. I just want to know that I said it here and it's on video, and
We'll give
it's
you
ether.
a free tickets.
Oh, looking forward to it. I mean, honestly, it would just be a free opportunity for me to just interview everybody in person. So I feel like
Yeah.
I could do that. But sounds great. Uh, really like the kind of differentiation between obviously the people that inspired you to do what you do, but also showing love to the local community, and local bands that are just working hard. So kudos on the choices, Andrew. The next question, another fun one. What is your favorite TV show, favorite movie?
Wow. I actually took advantage of the time in the pandemic to rewatch entirely Breaking Bad. And
Ooh.
oh, what a great show.
Mm,
And my wife and I are in the middle of, we're all caught up, but we're still waiting for, I think, the last season of Better Call Saul, which is kind of the prequel to it,
yep.
which is also really good. So great TV right there. Doesn't get much better than that. Um, movie. I'm gonna date myself, but I was blown away and still can watch whenever it's on, the first Matrix movie. I remember
Oh
seeing that in
yeah.
theaters, and I was like, wow, because it was a leap in terms of special effects. The whole concept, the kind of philosophical, are we all just,
Yeah.
software algorithms? Is the world around us real, or are we just living in that concept? Um, it was just cool, and then obviously all the action in it. And
Oh
I
yeah.
love kind of sci-fi fantasy kind of genre. But that one I just remember, and it literally was like, I think I was with a friend, and we're like, a few days later we said we gotta go see it again. So went to the movie theater and paid again just to go see it.
I feel that when the movie is that good, you got to see it multiple times in theaters. I respect that because that's kind of how I get about Marvel movies. Sometimes I'm just like, man, if I see a really good one, I'm like, I'm gonna go see it like a couple different times in theaters. I know I shouldn't because it's hurt my wallet, but I'll go see it again because I loved it.
Look for the little Easter eggs. Yeah.
Little Easter eggs. You watch like a ton of YouTube videos about it. I dive down that rabbit hole a little bit too much, but I digress. But I love your Matrix choice. I mean, big Matrix fan here. I mean, I love Keanu Reeves, great, fantastic actor. But I, it's so weird that how it's so relevant now, like where we're like getting into like you know the
Virtual,
metaverse and
the
stuff,
metaverse.
and I'm like, oh wow, they like totally called this without even really like calling it, I guess, per se. But uh so strange, but fantastic movie. Did you see the newest one? That's the real question.
I did. I'm still entertained. I know it got panned by some real
I was gonna
fans.
say, yeah. I didn't
Um,
see it yet, so I'll have
I,
to see it.
I enjoyed it. I mean, I'm such a fan that I'm not going to pan it at all. It you know Nothing can compare to the first one,
Sure, yeah.
but it was entertainment. It was worth it. I just had it at home on I think HBO Max,
Yeah,
right? So it
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
even have to pay the full price
You just
of a movie
watched it,
ticket.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's entertaining. I'm the kind of person, I crank it up. I want the
you
effects
want
to shake
you
the
want the
room
whole
I'm
you want
in.
your whole house to shake. I got you. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're a type you're a type of movie watcher that I would also be in the same room with Andrew. So big
yeah,
respect on that. But yeah, I'll have to watch it and give you my thoughts on it because I've seen all of them, and I agree with you. The first one is still I would argue one of the greatest movies of that time period for sure.
yeah.
But next question, Andrew, not to get off topic a little bit, but if you're trapped on a desert island for the next month, and there was one album you could bring with you to listen to, what album would it be?
This is easy, and it's been the same for probably 40 years. It's the Clash, London Calling.
Ooh, okay,
It is
nice. All
it is a
right.
great album. I think it was from recorded in '79, probably released here in beginning of '80, and it definitely has a sense of nostalgia because I was like 12 at that time. But and that's right when you're impressionable about music.
Yeah, I was gonna say
But
yeah.
they were punk, and then this was like real, definitely post punk. But they mixed everything from that album has everything from rockabilly to reggae to straight up punk to straight up rock and roll. Um, so the whole album, uh, there's not a bad song, and it's like they're definitely not the same. Like every song is slightly different from each other, and if you go from one extreme to another, it anyway, great album. I know it's been my desert island
Go to
album for
record.
40 plus years. But yeah, it's great, and like some of those songs they did in one take,
That's wild.
which is, I mean, today's like overproduction and all that stuff. They just did one take. They were definitely like this punk band, and they had a producer who would like purposely cause mayhem in the studio and all that stuff just to get them in the mood to really like go at their
Just go in
guitars
it.
and
Yeah.
bass. So if your listeners have not listened to that album, I recommend listening it. It's
Front to
it's
back.
yeah, it's a 2 record album, but they're short records. But just I think it's 20 songs with a hidden secret song at the end, which is their most famous one, "Train in Vain, Stand by Me." But like songs like "Spanish Bombs," "Lost in the Supermarket," the title track "London Calling," "Hateful," "Rudy Can't Fail," all those have a place in my heart.
I feel like I would enjoy it. I've heard stories about it. I haven't personally listened to it, but I'll probably have to make my way through the entire record. But when you said it was a punk band, I was like, in 20 tracks, I already knew. I'm already in the headspace. I already know what I'm getting into because that feels very much along the lines of like old school like hardcore bands. Like they have minute 40 tracks, and it's just straight into it, straight into the
Yep,
action, straight out
one
of the
take,
action.
one take.
Next song, they're into the next song already. By the time by the time 20 minutes is up, they've gone through 30 tracks already. It's wild. So I respect that move. I'll have to actually give it a listen. But the last thing to kind of round this out, Andrew, I've been asking this to people post pre hiatus, but people watching this and like watching our whole interview and being like, "Oh, I really like Andrew. I want to check his music out." What do you want people to take away from your music? Like, I imagine, obviously we were talking about lyrics, to some capacity, and how they all have these, different things that have to do with like, global warming or like politics or things of that nature. So what do you want people to kind of absorb or understand? You were talking about kind of like overall wisdom of being, of that age, right?
The gray
So
hair.
the gray hair, right? But what do you want people to ultimately understand about you and your music?
Yeah, sure. So obviously, I kind of call the music conscious rock. It has rock, but it's definitely a classic rock or 80s, 90s rock feel. The lyrics to me are important. All the songs have some meaning, but I spent a lot of time on the bass riffs, the guitar licks. So I try to make it catchy. I try to make a little hook, um, uh, and so that the song is enjoyable and sing alongable, and
Yeah,
kind of as an earworm in your head. But my themes are important to me in that um, some of them are let's all try to make the world a better place,
yeah,
um,
certainly.
uh, including being mindful of climate change and stuff. I have another song called Outrun Evolution, which um, I actually was inspired by this book called Sapiens: A Brief History of Humankind, which talks about how quickly our species has come to dominate the whole planet, other species, all that stuff. How did that happen? Is it a good thing? Are we happier even though we're no longer subject to evolution or Darwinism? Um, so it asks those kind of questions. So that's cool. And that one has a definitely a distorted power chord rock edge
Sure, yeah.
with a stadium solo kind of sound to it, from the classic rock of my era. But then I have a song that just was released in February called Perfection, where that's a song of kind of self-realization, self-awareness, where um, I grew up always trying to be perfect, trying to be a perfectionist, and I get so upset and disappointed with myself if I made a mistake or if I weren't perfect. And I came to the realization later in my life that just made me unhappy, and that there was no way to always be satisfied. To be satisfied, if you're always wanting to be perfect, it's just impossible. And so the song, it's called Perfection, but it's actually saying, look, being perfect shouldn't be your goal, and if you're happy with how you are and who you are, that's happy. And one of the refrains in that song is, the people who think they're perfect are the ones who are flawed. Um, so that one has that kind of message. Again, a little bit of self-realization, self-awareness, self-improvement. I have a song that I wrote. Unfortunately, we had two losses in our family during the pandemic. My younger brother died of cancer,
Oh,
and I wrote a song dedicated to him. And it says, "You have one job to do," which is a kind of spoof off of, "Hey, dude, you had one job to do and you messed it up."
yeah,
But this one is, "You have one job to do in your life, and that's to leave the world a better place than when you came into it."
yeah,
And so the theme of that song is, everything you do should have a benefit to society, to others, and just keep that in mind. You're here for a short period of time, make the world a better place. And for some people, it's a shorter period of time. So do what you can while you're here on the planet. Um, so it's uh, enjoy the music, but also listen to the meaning.
yeah.
Hopefully you take something away from it.
I feel like I will personally, and I hope that my audience will as well. Andrew, tell the people where they can find your wise words of wisdom on the social media. What you have coming up. You kind of documented a little bit earlier in terms of our interview, but feel free to rehash that. And anything else you'd like to talk about or point out real quick.
Great. Yeah. So the main portal for all my music is my webpage. So www.andrewthomases.com. And that links you to all my music videos, all streaming platforms, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Pandora, um, or SoundCloud. And there's I press there, and there are other announcements there. So you could sign up for my email list and get first news of a new release. On Instagram, Andrew Thomas's Music. On Facebook, again, Andrew Thomas's Music. On Twitter, it's at Music Thomas's. Um, and then my YouTube channel is just Andrew Thomas's Music on YouTube. So, and I have, not only do I have the lyric videos on my YouTube channel, but some other fun stuff. Some friends and I, under a pseudonym, made a mashup of The Weeknd's Blinding Lights and the old classic rock song Blinded by the Light. And we mashed that into one
Very
song and made a
cool.
really silly video of us reenacting both the music videos, both as The Weeknd, but also being like in 70s wigs and playing 70s clothing and playing 70s kind of rock and roll. So it's like my lighter side, and that's under a pseudonym, but that's a fun video too. So I have other goodies on my YouTube page too.
There we go. Well, again, massive thanks to Erica. You've always got some good artists to have on the channel, so always feel blessed to have the Muddy Paw family migrate over here. But if you want to check out Andrew's music, all of the links will be in the description, where you can find out about where you can listen to it, where you can find him out on social media. Go give him a follow, go give him a subscribe if you haven't already. And if you enjoy this content, share, like, and subscribe. Again, I feel very weird always asking for it all the time, but again, if you don't ask for it, you shall not receive. So I ask you, if you found this entertaining, to please subscribe. But again, huge thank you to Andrew for coming on and chatting with me and being the first one post hiatus. So thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Brandon, and also thanks to Muddy Paw, and thanks to everyone for listening.